15 billion to 20 billion refers only to 1982 to 1992. From 76 and 82, there are other sums. It's enough to say that the closure of the border against Ian Smith, it has costed Mozambique, that alone, it has costed Mozambique $5 billion. By 1994, over 2 million Mozambicans were still dependent on food aid, and up to 2/3 of the population were estimated to be living in absolute poverty. Mozambique was the world's most indebted, most aid-dependent, and possibly its poorest country. GDP per capita in 1994 was estimated at $88 only. Let us have a look on Zimbabwe. The ravages to the Zimbabwean economy wrought by the political crisis of the last 10 years have been documented by many economic and political analysts. Key among the causes of the conflict was infrastructural collapse. During the decade-long political and economic crisis in Zimbabwe, key economic and social infrastructure in the country underwent considerable deterioration that left it deficient in comparison to other countries in the region that registered high levels of industrialization during the same period. This left Zimbabwe with a huge backlog of funding that is required to revamp its infrastructure. During the same period, the manufacturing sector also recorded a cumulative decline of 91.1% between 2000 and 2008, and the local money market was rendered irrelevant by hyperinflation as an alternative investment market. Runaway inflation during the Zimbabwe dollar era made the money market imprudent for rational investors. Inflation soared to unprecedented levels. Some experts say an outrageous 500 billion%. In 2008, and capacity utilization for local industries plunged to below 10%, and at the height of hyperinflation 2 years ago. What are the profits of peace in face of all these costs of conflict? A look at post-conflict in Mozambique, 1992-2010. I am proud to enumerate and outline the remarkable profits of peace that my motherland has been enjoying since the cessation of hostilities in 1992. Mozambique has made bold strides in turning its fortunes around, consistently posting growth rates of 8% in recent years, closer to the Asian levels than to other African countries. This performance has made Mozambique a kind of post-conflict poster child. The first thing going for Mozambique is its strong sense of unity. Although the war exacted a massive human and developmental toll, it left people with a desire to leave the past behind them and to collectively push forward. Although Mozambique has had its fair share of political and economic problems in the post-conflict period, its relative political stability has scored some major economic success. Under the economic pragmatism of the Frelimo leadership, Mozambique has seen the following successes. Economic growth rose from an average of 6.7% to 10% between 1996 and 1998. Inflation was reduced from 50% in 1995 to less than 1% in 1998 and stabilized at a target level of less than 5.5% since then. A successful campaign of encouraging FDI by establishing legal and institutional frameworks. The establishment of 13 new financial institutions registered under Mozambique legislation and the opening of the Mozambique Stock Exchange in Maputo. In 1999, 234 new projects were approved, which have a value of $767 million, and which created 20,800 new jobs. I should add what I was telling Comrade Mnangagwa there at the table, that today we have in Mozambique 38 universities. Started at independence, we had one university, but it was one university with only 40 Mozambican students, while the foreigners were 4,000. Today, we have 38 universities with a population of students of 80,000. There are many things which I could enumerate. The level of poverty, which went from a rate of 70% to 54% when I left office. From 70%, the absolute poverty. Today, it may be less, but I will not give you the statistic. Members of government will do so. I'm no longer. But I think that it went down from where I left. The same as illiteracy. We had come from at independence about 90% of illiteracy to less than 50% when I left office. Let's see the profits of peace in Zimbabwe, 2009-2010. We are all familiar with the unforgettable crisis period that Zimbabwe is slowly emerging from. The coming into being of the inclusive government in February 2009 and the launch of the short-term emergency recovery program ushered in a cocktail of macroeconomic policies that brought stability in economy and created an enabling environment for businesses. Teething problems notwithstanding, since the inception of the inclusive government, Zimbabwe's economic outlook has been largely positive due to the commitment of the three principles to the cause of the GPA. The performance of the manufacturing sector has registered positive recovery since February 2009. The successful turnaround was a result of the implementation of market-friendly and stabilization policies provided for under the Strategic Economic Recovery Program. These policies include the adoption of stable multiple currencies, liberalization of the current account, the removal of price controls and restorations, as well as the removal of surrender requirements on exporters' foreign exchange earnings. This resulted in green shoots emerging in the sector, with companies that had been operating raising their capacity thresholds, while some companies that had closed reopened. According to the 2009 Confederation of Zimbabwe Industries Manufacturing Survey that was released in November 2009, capacity utilization for the sector rose from about 5% to about 32% during the first half of 2009. According to the same survey, overall output volume grew by 110% over the period under review. This was largely due to the introduction of a multi-currency system, which allowed companies to plan and budget. By October 2009, the figures for capacity utilization in the manufacturing sector had gone up to between 30% and 50%, and in some few cases above 50%. Others have surpassed the ambitious 60% capacity utilization threshold that had been set by the inclusive government at its inception as a budget for the end of 2009. This included the drinks and tobacco industry that had capacity utilization levels of 80%, while the textile and ginning industry was at 60%. An overall assessment of the industry's 2009 performance shows that the manufacturing sector, which had recorded a cumulative decline of 91.1% between 2000 and 2008, was estimated to have registered a positive growth of 80% in 2009 alone, an amazing recovery feat in less than